The Virgin Isle is a garden where the palm trees bowing. The Virgin Isle is a garden where the trade winds blowing.
International Museum Day was first observed on May 18, 1977. The day was established by the International Council of Museums, ICOM, to increase the awareness throughout the world on the importance of museums. We at the Department of Culture, with the assistance of the International Museum Day Planning Committee, are responsible for planning and implementing activities to mark the occasion. Representatives from the museums in the territory, including the Virgin Islands Folk Museum, Old Government House Museum, the Maritime Museum, as well as the 1780 Sugar Works Museum, all serve on the planning committee. In keeping with the theme, Museums for a Sustainable Society, we have chosen to create a documentary in which a few families have sustained themselves over several generations as far back as the 1930s. We recognize that many other families throughout the territory have done the same. These two families, however, were selected due to the cultural longevity of their businesses. The families featured are the Warren Stoutt family of Little Apple Bay and the Callwoods of King Garden Bay. Through these families' stories, we aim to share aspects of our Virgin Islands history and culture. We know you will be enlightened and educated in the process. Join us on today's journey with the Stoutts and Callwoods. The Callwoods. It is known that this distillery has been in the Callwood family since the 1800s. Way back then, the estate may have been as large as 400 acres at one time. It was originally owned by the Arundel Plantation family. Today, the same rum continues to be produced and bears the very Arundel name on the label. As you look around the Callwood distillery today, with the exception of the men dressed in modern-day attire, you are sure to feel like you have taken a journey back in time. The distillery itself looks just about the same way it did way back then.
It kind of goes back to what I mentioned earlier about tradition in the family, the gatherings. It's a lot about storytelling. So you're sitting around and you're having, like my uncle or my grandfather would have told us how things used to be. The kids are always in there. We have a huge younger generation in the family. And then the good thing about it is that they're around the process. They might not be hands-on, like probably Ellis and some of the older ones are, but they're around to see the process being made. And the good thing as well is I know for my boys, when they go at school and they have the history lesson, they're able to connect back. Okay, that's our zone. Yeah. So you're getting at school, but then you also have that one-on-one because you live in the area or because we still as a family get together quite often. So I think that in itself is helping to, help the younger generation embrace the distillery and the process of it.
We have a room that we call the canning room.
The canning room?
The canning room,
okay.
Yeah. That's where the fermentation takes place. So the grandfather always said, we don't want a woman in there. It might
might throw things off. I know we women have a way of having a lot of energy around us.
Yeah, so and sometimes it seems very serious about it. So
I actually heard a story one time growing up from my dad that I think he had a girlfriend that took a tour of the distillery while there was a fermentation process, and apparently the next day the entire batch went bad, so they had to throw it out. So that only kind of reinforced that we're not allowed. We're not allowed inside, the distillery or the room when that process is going on. So
wow,
I always find it was interesting.
That's very, very interesting.
From America, she came to reside right on Tortola. She said so old. But as she reached my island of sun, she said, oh my boy, I'm feeling so young.
Okay, well, what we do here, we actually crush the sugarcane here. So remember, we do this like once a year. We start from March until August, that's when we finish. So we also have small farmers on Tortola also bring us the sugarcane. We also have some around the building. So that day is a diesel engine, and this is the press. So what we do, we put the big belt onto that flywheel, to this flywheel. So when we crank up the engine, this machine here be spinning very fast. So what we do, we put the cane between here, it get crushed. The juice will come into the sink. So this thing will fill up to the cane. What goes to the front will be the sugarcane skin after it get crushed. So we also take the sugarcane skin to use for the fire, so we don't really waste the cane. So we put some pipes to the end of this one here to go back inside the building. In there, so we boil it for 3 hours by using the dry sugarcane skin. We don't use firewood because we don't really need like a lot of fire. That's why we use the dry sugarcane skin. It's just to boil it for 3 hours to pull out some of the water from it. Okay, here is what we do the first set of fire by boiling the sugarcane skin, using the sugarcane skin for fire. So this big iron thing here, this is how the pots look like, this big one out here. It's a very old one. So we have like 4 of that inside of this building. The juice will be into that. People make rums from molasses. But these rums they make from natural sugarcane. We do that in old time days, like how the US guys used to be doing it from pure cane. So it's all natural, no chemical into it. So we use the dry cane skin here, so we pile everything into this hole to light the fire. So the juice here will boil for 3 hours only to put on some of the water. After 3 hours, we put the juice into some barrels inside of this building. It will ferment for 8 days. After 8 days, it forms into a wine. We take that wine, we pump it to the front of the building. We pump over 200 gallons to get distilled, to get the pure rum. So let's go to the front, and you're gonna see where we actually distill. Okay, this is the still, the pots make out of copper, so that's what we call the still. Up to the center there where the pipe going, we have like a water system in there, so we have like a point back into the building. This bucket you see down the hole down here, right now it's almost full. So the rum is like dripping, 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 you know, into that bucket. It stays in bottles called a demi-john, so you need the color and the strength. Some people call it cowboy. Those are original hand blown, those goes back from the 1600s.
Oh, they're beautiful.
And the first press we had, there's a picture there, that used to use the donkeys and horses. That's the first press where those guys used to crush the sugarcane, but now we use with the diesel engine. That one is in St. Croix on the display right now. So to get the color dark is by taking a white rum stored in barrels. These barrels is burned from the inside, so they come like a charcoal. So the rum will get a flavor like a Scotch taste. You can try this on daiquiris, people know how to different pieces. This is what I drink because it's aged for 10 years in the barrel. It's more darker, so it's more smoother. To me, it's like drinking water, so when this rum hit me, it's hard, it's like freedom.
What makes the rum dark?
The charcoal, it's inside the barrel is charcoal.
So the longer it stays in the barrel, the darker it'll get.
Smoother, more oaky taste. And then we have, I do one for the ladies, this one having sugarcane. A lot of ladies come here, they want something nice, so I come up with an idea for them. So this one having sugarcane, I got already blended. This is more like a liqueur. So a woman will drink a lot because it's sweet, but when she finishes, she do things by taking off her pants.
Uh-oh.
It's all done from cane, no molasses, no chemical, all natural. So all those things on the wall up there, those are like strainers. That's what the people used to use. They have to scoop out like anything into the cane, like when they boil it, all those lanterns. That's what they used to use for rides a long time ago. The slaves.
Incredible.
One of the things that set the BVI apart from other islands is that it is not Americanized or Europeanized as to where it's all fashionable about the amusements, about the attraction, these huge attractions. The distillery still set in its you know, it looks very much as how it was in the 1800s. With the addition of more fruit trees, with the pavement of the road, everything is still there. We have our well, which was created then. It's still being used to make the rum. In fact, some of the family houses still use it as a water supply.
Yep.
So I think for its contribution to the BVI is the fact that it continues that tradition of who the BVI is. We have other places like Stoutt Island and those places that are indigenous to here, and they don't get the tourists to frequent there, and they don't really get the fame or acknowledgement about it. But when persons come to the BVI, most times, I would say hundreds, until cruise ship comes in, you know, whether they're walking in or driving in, or, you know, I live very close by the distillery, so I'm always there to see a lot. So it brings a sense of this is the original Caribbean. This is not the modernized Caribbean, and that's what I think it brings to us.
The Stoutts. During his time, Captain Stoutt captained both sail and motor vessels throughout the region, importing and exporting goods, cattle and other produce to and from the Virgin Islands.
My father came from a poor and a humble family. He said he lost his mother at a very early age, at the age of 6. And I remembered him saying that at 9 years, he also lost his father. He said at 13 years, 6 months, he lost his grandmother, which was his only means of support at that point in time. After that, he was not able to attend school the way he would have liked to. But he said when he went to school, at that time they used to write on slates, and he would make his endeavors to listen very careful to the teachers because he wanted to be somebody in life. He left school, I think he said, when he was between 13 and 14 years. And from there he went out and tried to make a living doing little odds and ends, trying to keep himself going. I believe he went to St. Thomas between the age of 16 and 17 years, and it was there he set out to try to make a living in selling coals and in trying to be somebody in life.
How often would you make the trip to St. Thomas when you were younger?
Sometimes once a month, once 2 months.
Would you go to Charlotte-Amalie?
Charlotte-Amalie said that time our boats from here was a lot of boats. King Gan had about 7. Here Caribbean had about 4. And I used to go from there to St. Thomas. We're carrying provisions. Sometimes they carry, maybe carry a cow or 2. Sometimes a couple of pigs. Some goats. Whatever they could get a carry.
Would you bring cargo back to Thomas, or would you come back in ballast?
When we matched the boy, our little boy come.
The things you couldn't get here?
Things you couldn't get. But the money was very small. And those days. And we come back.
Got to smuggle them to West End, got to smuggle them.
You had to smuggle the stuff into West End?
Yeah, we used to meet the rowboat down below.
Uh-huh.
And take the stuff from us. It was no motorboat around here now. And in those days, a motorboat used to be like a special thing around here.
Yeah, I'll bet.
So
everything was the sloops, right?
Everything was by
sloops and schooners.
Everything was by sea, not schooner. We didn't have no schooner.
Oh, really?
Everything was by sloop.
Mm-hmm.
And not with motor, just sail alone.
Yeah.
I remembered him saying that when he was at that young age, he had very little friends, but he still tried to stay focused, remembering what his grandmother taught him.
Like many captains, he was the owner of as many as 10 vessels, including the Miranda, which was named after one of his daughters.
And the same first boat I had, 37-foot boat, it was pulled on the bay in Barrows Bay.
Uh-huh.
The guy had it there, the mast break out, he couldn't put in the mast, he couldn't fix it. And I went and I bought that boat from him.
Now, what was the name of that boat?
The same name, it had the same name, so it disappeared.
Oh, okay.
But I changed name and given him the Lady Sea.
The Lady Sea. Now I've heard of that boat. I've heard those names.
The Lady Sea. And I started to run to St. Croix, run gravel and sand. And finally, there's some guy had a boat built up in East End. They came, St. Croix introduced me to the boat.
Uh-huh.
He don't have the stem, 3 frame, and the stand post.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted $400 for that.
To get it at that point?
To get it, they had it up, that's all I had up.
So it was almost set up?
It was set up.
Was set up?
But none was not. I went and meet a man with bag for $400.
And this was where?
Up at East End.
At East End.
In the same place, a supermarket I know.
Oh, yeah.
And I buy it from there. I paid him before. And then I after I buy it from him, he charged me $1,000 for finishing, for boat.
To finish it after the point where you bought it?
Yeah. Which was a lot of money for those days.
That was a lot of money for those days.
But and it took me about close to 2 years to finish the boat, get the boat finished.
To finish building it?
Mm-hmm.
Boy, that is a long time.
Yeah, but it wasn't one at constant, you know.
Yeah, just a little bit here and there.
I had a cut one by plank from Lockout to St. Thomas.
So who was it that built that boat for you?
Well, two of the men died now. One is still alive. Haldane Davis.
Oh, it was one of the Davies?
Yeah.
Haldane, there was a Haldane Osmond.
Haldane Osmond and Chairman Oldman.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So, go ahead.
And after I finished that boat, I start running for Puerto Rico, St. Thomas, Statola, pulling cement, lumber and whatever I could get. Sometimes I come to St. Thomas, I go back to Puerto Rico.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I come to St. Croix, I go back to Puerto Rico. And till I went out and went with some fellows in a bigger boat. But that boat, we lose money. We was not, the boat was old, and we lose my that boat.
What was the name of that boat?
It was named the La Pole.
La Pole?
Yeah, La Pole, the French La Pole.
Oh yeah. What was the name of the boat that you bought from the Davies?
Oh, that boat, the name, the Amanda Stoutt.
That was the Amanda Stoutt? Okay, great. Yeah, I've heard of that boat.
The Tatola Pride, that's the one we bought in Puerto Rico, was some other name that I can't remember. And then you had, afterward, a gentleman from Angola went to New Orleans and bought a bigger boat in which my father fall in love with when he see it come to Puerto Rico. And he had it in mind all the time on his boat, saying the boat big, built different to the others, and the hull is this and that and the other. All I tell him is, stick with the boat that you have and leave that alone, because I didn't want to go any further. You know, he decided he wanted this boat. Accidentally, the gentleman get in trouble and he couldn't maintain it. The bank took it from him. My father come to me trying to buy it. I asked him to leave it alone. I didn't help him at the time to buy it. He missed it. Mr. Betito went and he bought it. Betito get in trouble. And my father and the manager was friends. The manager told him that the boat is up for sale again. I still asked him to leave it. And he determined he wanted this boat. So after I see it was going to hurt his mind, I went and helped him to get a boat. The manager gave him the money. I chartered a plane, went to Angola and carried the money to the court Friday afternoon, and they signed over the boat. And a few weeks afterward, we went to Angola and picked it up. So, my father, before that, how he really get me to assist him, he told me that this is not for you. Buy the boat for your son. You have a son coming out of school soon. So in there, he make me feel different. I tried to help him. So I just had my son in school, in which I had asked him to pick up the navigation course so he could have come out and help his grandfather. So the first day that my son landed here, he went to look for his grandfather. So his grandfather told me, ask him what he's doing. So I said to him, give him a day off. He said, no, let him go with me tonight. So he take him with him to Puerto Rico. When he get outside at St. Thomas, he tell him take over. So when he come back after the trip, he told me that my son is spot on. I said, well, how you just watch him for the first trip and tell? He said, he hear what I say, he's spot on.
Today, the business Mr. Stoutt established is in the capable hands of his children. Withstanding the test of time, the current Stoutt generation continue to provide service to the region as their patriarch once did.
No, there's been several years which have passed, and your family has managed to sustain the business first started by your father. As we see it nowadays, how would you say that business is different now compared to when your father first started?
Well, when my father started, it was a lot of difference. You didn't have to get all these different requirements that they have now. At those times, they was running without, license. After a while, they had to get license. And after that, some years passed and it wound up with the, what do you call it? The marine industries, the making different demand from the Coast Guard and what's not. So, like every year it come more harder and harder. That a lot of time it make me change my mind, want to get out of it. But I have a son is very determined, so he is there trying to hold on. But I always feel like to leave out there because we are not getting any help from the government. The government, with my thinking, need to get themselves involved a little more and really find out what is going on, because later on it's just like certain people here had own an airline and it just vanished like that. It's the same thing gonna happen in the boat business, because we don't have money to sustain, this great responsibility. And the little money that we get it from the banks, and the banks are getting more stiff. So it's, people think because the boat come full, you're making a lump sum of money. But by the time you don't put figures together, you just broke even, or sometimes you lost.
Competition is getting stringent.
And competition get more stiff. Okay?
Yeah, people from the industry.
So.
With having said that, and you talked about your son's involvement with the business, can you tell us how one of Mr. Stout's grandson, assuming that is your son Gavin, how he first became involved in the business?
Well, it's just like I told you, he had leave to go to school to study a technician. So discussing it with my wife, his mother, I afterwards started to talk to him, and she would ask me to leave him alone, let him study what he wanted to study. So I will turn to her and tell her, well, look, this is what we making a living out of. His grandfather needs some help. I was out there and I didn't get accustomed, so he would like somebody to take over when he leaving or when he left. So I talked to my son, and I asked him to give me 2 hours out of 24 hours a day. Take some lesson. So he started for a year. The first year he started, he told me that he loved it. So I asked him to continue. Accidentally, so he get a part-time job on a tourist ship. So he have been able to put in some hours while studying, which is an important part when you studying for your license. So right there and then, that was the time he continue and he get a small license. He come out and he tried, and then after that he went back and studying. He upgraded his license, and he had been able to take over before his grandfather leave. So up to now he's still running the operation outside.
As one of the tributes to his late father, his son Ishmael commissioned a special museum in Captain Stout's memory. A well-known local artist, Mr. Ruben Vanterpool, was responsible for its completion. The families we have chosen to feature have all played a key role in our country's development. Virgin Islanders, as we know, have always been a very innovative people. Through our family businesses, we have and continue to be able to pass the skills from one generation to the next. Today, we say a big thank you to the families who have worked with us to produce this piece of work. The Department of Culture is grateful to viewers like you who show interest in programs like these. Before we leave, please be reminded to visit a museum in your area. Museums open the doors to a past which is rich in both history and heritage. Thank you for joining us. Until next time, I am Janice Nibs Blyden. Don't forget our museums. We are waiting to welcome you.
Bye BVI, bye. If I just why? Ay ay ay. Oh yo yo. Ay ay ay. We got a beautiful country here in the BVI. Go to you, and it's good to I. We've got a beautiful country, it's safe as it can be. Safe for you, and it's safe for me. But every weekend we can't wait to go down and lime. And on the neighboring islands, yes, we spend every dime. Then to get back home, there is a mad dash. We can't even pay the customs cause we spend all we cash. But playing games on we. Can't you see, we're destroying the country economy. Playing games, we're laughing at we. What's going on, boy? We're mashing up we country. Ay, ay, ay. Oy, oy, oy. Ay, ay, ay. Ay, ay, ay.